If your school is in the market for bespoke sportswear, look no further than Kukri Sports. Kukri has evolved over the last 20 years from a bespoke sportswear manufacturer into a true sportswear partner, firmly believing in the value of sport at all levels. Bespoke teamwear forms a unique part of an individual's sporting story and represents a lasting link to their time in sport. Kukri are proud to play a part in that journey. Every individual can build their own legacy. Kukri Sports creates a sportswear range that inspires as well as performs. Start your journey today. Email the team at contact@kukrisports.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Globetrottin ADs. Our guest this week is Jason Culler. Jason is an associate athletic director at Jenks High School in Jenks, Oklahoma. And today our topic is going to be the differences between those who are athletic directors in the United States versus those who might be activity coordinators or athletic directors overseas. So if you've taken, for example, 901 from the NIAAA, one of those courses that introduces International Schools Athletic Directors Association guidelines, and you'll be familiar with some of the topics we're going to discuss today. Jason is a CMAA. He's a Certified Master Athletic Administrator. He's an NIAAA liaison for the state of Oklahoma and an OIAAA board member. We were fortunate enough to first meet Jason in Orlando. I believe it was back in 2015 at the NIAAA conference, and we welcome him. And I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, Nick.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for the intro, and hello, everyone. I won't say too much right now. We want to welcome you, Jason, and maybe fill us in on a bit of a profile, maybe something that Matt missed to get us started.
You bet. Hey, first of all, I want to thank you, Matt and Nick. Thank you guys for extending the invitation to speak on the podcast. I've been following your last 4 episodes. Very excited to be on there with you guys. So like Matt said, my name is Jason Culler. This is my 23rd year in education and my 12th year as an athletic administrator. I've taught and coached at schools in Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma here in the United States. I've coached everything from fast pitch softball, football, basketball, track and field, baseball, and golf. The schools that I've worked at have ranged from 335 students in the entire district to nearly 15,000 students in my current district. Happily married to my high school sweetheart, Shannon. We have 3 children, Avery, who is 16, Caden, my middle daughter, she's 11, and Brooks is my son, who is 8. Like Matt said, I'm currently serving as the district associate athletic director for Jenks Public Schools here in Jenks, Oklahoma. Also serving on the OIAAA, which is our Oklahoma Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association. Serve on that board as well as the state liaison for the NIAAA for the state of Oklahoma. So thank you guys for having me. Just a brief synopsis of where I've been and what I bring to the table.
All right. Thanks, Jason. And before we go any further, how many other countries besides the United States have you visited?
That's an easy answer. That is 0. I've made it almost to the border of Mexico via Texas one time, but my wife's purse was stolen and all of our cash and all of our stuff before we crossed over, so we did not venture into Mexico. Man. We were headed there and did not make it. So the answer is 0.
All right. Well, I knew that answer, obviously. That's why I asked. But we're working on that. We're working on getting you a few more countries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, before we get into the main topic, we want to talk a little bit about, how we got into education. And we know, Jason, you have a great backstory. But I guess we'll start with ourselves first. Matt, do you want to go first, or you want me to
Sure.
take her off?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Dayton in Ohio, smaller, about a middle-age school, about 7,000 to 8,000 undergrads. So I went there originally to play football, and then I got into my undergrad and ended up getting into education because I always thought that'd be a good career to get into. And the reason I got into it is I had a high school PE teacher who allowed me to be his PE aide when I was in 12th grade, and I really enjoyed it. And he was a good teacher, and he was inspiring in how he did his work and how he worked with kids. So that's one of the reasons I got into it, because I thought this would be a great career. It could be something I could enjoy, and of course, working get your summers off seemed like a good career move as well.
Right.
So I got into that, and I started off as a social studies major in the beginning, but I'd always had a hankering for PE, so I switched after my freshman year and then finished out with my degree in 4 years, which, looking back, was a little too quick because I really wasn't ready to become a full-on teacher once I had finished my student teaching, my graduation, or got my degree. So that's how I got into it. Then after a couple of years of subbing and working part-time, different jobs, and then eventually working for a nonprofit that worked with the school system, I was ready to finally get a full-time job, and I did with the Cleveland Public Schools. That was my first full-time PE job, working at elementary school. It was great. It was a good start.
Cool. Well, I'm not too different than Matt. My mom was a teacher, my uncle, and my dad was a coach. Not a professional coach. He worked at GM, but he coached all the time. And I'll always remember everywhere we would go together, adults would stop him, say hi, and then tell me how great of a coach he was. And I always thought that was the coolest thing. People that I thought were the same age as my dad were telling how great of a coach he was when they were little. So it was always something I wanted to do, but I guess didn't really have a plan of how I could really be a teacher and a coach. Went to junior college in the States and played baseball, and still didn't really know what I wanted to study. Had a general degree, and then came to Austria, keep playing baseball and a coach. And I realized I liked all these big, really cool buildings around me. So I decided I should get my degree in history and do my teacher's degree at the same time. But then had to come back to Austria. So came back to Austria, kept playing, got a lucky break, and started at AIS Vienna, and found myself into a great boss, mentor, and great friend now. Super happy in education, where I guess I knew I always wanted to be, just didn't really know how to get there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Jason, your story is a bit different than ours, I guess. Huh?
It's a little bit. There's some parts that intermingle, and talking about people that you've idolized or people that have influenced you. We have similar backgrounds there. So I actually grew up in northwestern part of Oklahoma, which is called Enid, Oklahoma. Grew up to a single parent home with two other siblings. My mother was a high school dropout. She dropped out to take care of my oldest brother. So ultimately, my mother was forced to work minimum wage jobs to make ends meet. Didn't have a lot of money coming in, so grew up relatively poor. Because my mother was working two jobs, she had little time to supervise us three boys, me and my two other brothers. So due to the fact that I had little to no supervision, I was free to get myself in trouble, which I did quite often, as you can imagine. I was ultimately kicked out of my high school there in Enid and had to go to a different high school in the next county over, because in Oklahoma, if you get kicked out of a high school in one county, you can't go to any other schools in that same county. You have to go outside of the county. So forced to go to a different school outside of that county. And it was actually here that I was introduced to a coach and teacher who cared a lot about me and my well-being and obviously my future. It was because I met Coach Benson that I decided to make a career in education. Coach Benson was my high school history teacher. He also coached football and basketball, which I played in high school. And he poured into me, and he believed in me, and he believed that I could be successful, whatever I put my mind to. So I wanted to be just like him, so I thought I'd become a teacher and coach. And ultimately, I ended up going to the University of Oklahoma, where I was a member of the football team for 2 years. Earned my bachelor's degree, then went into teaching in Texas, teaching history. I was a social studies major, social studies education. That's what my bachelor's is in. So I taught and I coached fast pitch softball and football fast pitch softball in Texas is in the spring down there, and quite different than Oklahoma. Fast pitch is in the fall, but I coached fast pitch softball and football. And then came back to Oklahoma when we decided we wanted to have children. Me and my wife were both from Oklahoma, so came back up here, and ultimately what led me to being an athletic director was I'd earned my master's degree in education administration from Southern Nazarene University, and I had a horrible boss. I had a horrible athletic director. He was at the end of his tenure, and he was just drawing a paycheck, man. And he did not care one iota if the teams were successful, if me as a coach was successful. He didn't pour into us anything. And so I thought, man, if this guy can be an athletic director, then I think I can surely do it, and I can do a lot better job. So that's ultimately how I became an athletic administrator. And so 13 years ago, 12 years ago, I took that trek and ended up where I am today.
Great story. Just curious about your when you were in high school, when you got booted out of that high school and you had to go to another one outside the county. Mm-hmm. Did you have to move, or did you have to commute every day?
So ultimately, the next county was about 20 miles away, so I could drive back and forth. But my mother, working a minimum wage job, she oftentimes would work at a restaurant as a waitress, and then in the evenings would work at a local convenience store or gas station. And so she really didn't track if I was home or not. So I ultimately ended up spending 95% of my time in the next county with a friend of mine that I had made at school, and I ended up sleeping on his couch the majority of the time. So. Oh, wow. Yeah, so I ended up doing that, so I didn't have to commute because I didn't have a vehicle, didn't have a lot of money to buy cars, so ended up staying there about 95% of the time.
What a friend.
Yeah, great friend.
Are you still in touch with them today?
Well, so he was the best man at my wedding, my best friend. He recently passed away, had bladder cancer, so passed away from bladder cancer. It was tough. It's been quite a while now, about 7 years. So have had time to heal, and, his son is my godson, so I'm still close with him. And, so.
Awesome.
That's great. Great that you can carry that forward for him.
Trying to.
Coach Evaluator is the premier coach evaluation software for schools and athletic organizations and preferred coach evaluation solution of the NIAAA and the Positive Coaching Alliance. The system is completely customizable with an always growing evaluation template library for athletic directors to reference. Coach Evaluator offers a built-in workflow tracking each coach evaluation from start to finish, including document uploads and email notifications. There are not only evaluations for ADs to use, but also self-evaluations and parent-player evaluations of coaches. There is built-in detailed historical reporting allowing the athletic director to analyze their coach's performance over time. Learn more about digitizing and simplifying your coach evaluation process by visiting www.coachevaluator.com. Mention Globetrottin ADs to receive a $200 discount on the yearly rate.
Well, let's thanks Jason for that, and Matt obviously as well. Let's go into our main topic. We do have a lot of listeners in the U.S. Thankfully, so they might want to know about the differences from you, Jason, to us, and obviously we have a lot of listeners in the international world that might want to hear from you about the differences to our job. So we think this could be a pretty cool topic here today, and Matt, you want to get started? Yeah. What do you think's the main?
Yeah, I think it's great because these are things we talk about when we get together. For example, at the NIAAA conference, because there are these massive differences between our schools. But then when we get talking into conversations like we're having now, we end up finding there's so many things that we have in common, and ultimately it's about dealing with kids,
right?
And doing what's right for kids and doing what's best for kids in their school setting. So at the end of the day, I don't think it matters where you work. Because I've been able to work in public schools, private schools, international schools, Catholic schools, and it's all about doing what's right for kids and doing what's best for them. So that's what's always great about these meetings we have and meeting people from all over the world.
Right.
You know, Jason from Oklahoma, people we met from Asia, South America, Europe, and beyond. It's definitely a worthwhile topic. But today we're going to talk about the difference between our U.S. athletic programs and the international school programs.
Right?
So
We could just end the episode right now with that statement, Matt. I mean, we're similar but different, and everybody's in it for the right reasons. So we're done.
Yeah, there we go.
No, let me start, because I think one of the main or the biggest difference is spectators at games, and for us, tournaments. And Jason, I know your game day protocol is a heck of a lot different than maybe ours, and some international schools might not have even weeknight games. So,
yeah,
Jason, tell us what you go through on a weekday game.
So, take you through a typical day on a football game day here for us in Oklahoma.
And we only have, we don't have too much time, so you can't, not minute by minute. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So, in order to keep it brief, our stadium here holds about 13,500 people, and so that's our football stadium. So our game day preparations behind the scenes are, we have to get the field ready. We have to get the pylons out. We have to get the goalposts out. We have to get the score clock out. We have to put the team names on the Jumbotron. We have to make sure that the ticket takers and ticket sellers booths are set up. We have to make sure that the concession stands are ready. We have to make sure we have artificial turf, so we will sweep the turf. Make sure that there's no debris, no loose chin strap buckles or anything like that on the turf. We have to make sure that the sound system is set up and ready to go for that evening. Then we'll run through a brief script, make sure that our microphone is working for our announcer so that, we can hear him loud and clear. And then we'll run through the national anthem and make sure that the flags are up. And so it's a pretty crazy day. So we usually start here for us about 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, and then we will usually have everything in place and ready to go for the visiting team to show up, usually around 3:30 p.m. Again, Central Standard Time. And so really the preparation for a game day takes place many days in advance. So on a Monday, we play all of our games typically on Friday evening. So on Monday, I will contact the visiting school with the logistics package, letting them know, hey, here's where your buses are going to park. Here's where the visitors' locker room is. Here's where you'll enter the field. Here's where you'll enter the stadium. Here's how much time your pom and cheer have to dance pregame. Here's how much time your band has to perform pregame. And then I'll give them our logistics. Here's where we will enter the field. Here's where our bench is located. Here's where your bench is located. Here's what our pom and cheer are going to do at halftime. Here's what our band's going to do at halftime. And then if we have any game day sponsors or anything that we're going to be announcing and recognizing, we obviously do that throughout, but we'll also have them a script ready for halftime. And then once I receive how many buses that they plan on traveling with, then I make out a logistical plan to where we're going to park, make sure that we have the game day security. We'll have roughly 10 to 20 officers depending on the event and who we're playing. Right. Obviously, our bigger games, our Union game, which is a big rivalry, and Broken Arrow, which is a big rivalry game. We'll have 20 officers here, so that make sure we have great crowd control, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners have taken the NIAAA courses on game day management, and so nothing new there for us. We try to make sure that when they come to this venue, that it's an awesome experience for them, but it's also a safe experience. Right. We like to make a big show, big presentation, so we have a lot of different things going on video board wise. We have a big Jumbotron that runs on our south end zone above our bleachers down there, and play hype videos and just all the other stuff that everybody does. I think one of the biggest things that I've taken away from Nick, you and Matt, you guys, just in my curiosities of asking, what those differences are, and we've obviously shared for a number of years now at our conferences. One of the biggest takeaways that I take away, and you guys would be better to express this to our stateside listeners, is that you guys really don't have events in the sense that people pay an entry fee, and you don't really have a concession stand set up for people to pay, and your events are not typically set up for money making ventures. Is that correct in me saying that?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
Your game day, event that you just kind of described would be very similar to one of our end of season conference tournaments. Yep. Obviously, without the security, without the crowd, without the jumbotron, and without the tickets, but logistics of people coming in. Obviously, the airport, picking them up, bringing them in when they need to leave, the homestays, all those other things. That's like our end of season tournament, and trying to make an awesome experience with as many bells and whistles as you can do. Mm-hmm. But really, no one's watching. I would say it's really for the experience of the kids that are there. We've gotten into live streaming recently, so mom and dad, wherever they are, or grandma and grandpa can watch. But really, everything we do is centered on the kids, and nothing outside of that.
I would say our game day setup, for example, today we had a home basketball game. Our varsity boys played the British International School of Budapest. And basically our game day setup is myself and one of our maintenance guys. His name's Antal. So I'll give Auntie a big shout out because he's the one who helps me set up some tables and some benches and make sure the water's there, the scoreboard, and all the PE stuff cleared out of the way so we can have a game right after school with our local crowd. But we don't, or sorry, our local school that we rival with, but we don't have a whole lot of spectators coming. We're lucky we get a few parents that show up if they have the time, they can come out and watch. But basically, it's just myself and Aunt doing all that setup work.
Right.
So let me interject this, because I think one of the bigger differences, obviously, with us speaking, at the NIAAA, I've learned over the years our athletic budgets here, in particular in Oklahoma, our athletic budgets in terms of what we can spend on uniforms and travel and transportation and different things like that. It's solely generated on ticket sales into our events, as well as concession sales at our events. And so that's why we have to make it a big production. Whereas I would like to say that you guys probably have some different budget that you don't have to worry about, that you have a set budget yearly that will dictate how much you can spend on uniforms and travel and those things. So touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, we getting into fundraising and sponsorship, and that's something that most international schools don't do, because just like you said, we have a budget. So my school's athletic budget is close to 200,000 euros, and that's per year, and that's, like you said, uniforms and travel. Students pay a bit of the travel. When we fly somewhere, they pay for the cost of the ticket. But a lot of that is logistics. So paying for, in Matt's schools, Matt's too close. They're a bus ride away. But from when a school flies into Vienna, we pick them up and bring them to our school, and that's a big cost for us. But yeah, we don't have to worry. We have to work within our budget, of course. But we're not going out there and trying to hustle for money. And in most cases, we're not allowed. Fundraising at our school can only go to people in need, service learning projects, things like that. Right. We're not fundraising for our sports teams.
Sure.
And another topic too, which is it's definitely a big issue for schools or in the States, not a huge issue for international schools, but we try to do what's best for best practices and equality. The next topic we'll talk about, maybe touch on, Jason, about Title IX issues and how you work with that and comply with it in your school.
Well, so Title IX is very prevalent, obviously stateside. I believe some states have more active plans, I guess, for Title IX, and they're very proactive because maybe they've already experienced an awful lot of inquisition from the Office of Civil Rights or people within their community. So state to state, I think it's different. I think there are some definitely states in the southern part of the United States that pretty much operate with a kind of don't ask, don't tell mantra, I guess, if you will. I guess they operate the way they're going to operate until somebody brings it to their attention that they have a Title IX issue. But for us, we want to make sure here in Oklahoma, and in particular here at Jenks, we definitely make sure that there's equality in training facilities. So our girls soccer program has identical training facilities as our boys soccer program. Our girls basketball team has access to the same training as our men's basketball team. Very cognizant on uniform parity. So, we don't allow our boys soccer team to order Adidas uniforms and then our girls soccer team order some knockoff no name brand subpar uniform. They're both going to order, the top of the line, whatever's best for their in particular sport and what gives them the best opportunity to be successful.
Right. Just to backtrack, I probably should have prefaced, because there might be some folks out there listening who are not familiar with what Title IX is or how that impacts sport programs in the states. But basically, Title IX is if a school, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a school that receives federal funding, they have to have gender equality in their programming, essentially.
Correct. And so most of your Title IX issues come from the Office of Civil Rights. It's an OCR report. So yearly you do an OCR report, and basically it just shows the number of male participants in single-sex sports versus female numbers in single-sex sports. So basically, for Oklahoma, for example, when you do football in Oklahoma, when you count your numbers for football, that's not gender specific, which means women can play football as well as men. So it's not a single sex sport. So those numbers would not count. For whatever reason in the state of Oklahoma, and I don't know if this is all of the states, but in Oklahoma, you can't count your numbers in cheerleading. They don't recognize cheerleading here in Oklahoma as a sport, although having two daughters myself, I can tell you that cheerleading is very much a sport, and when you're competing and doing the things that cheerleaders do, it's definitely a sport. But anyway, so your single-sex sports are going to be like men's basketball and women's basketball. So you want to make sure that your opportunities, and the key here is opportunities. You can't make the female girl, you can't make the girls play basketball, but you want to make sure that the opportunity is there, that if they choose to play, basically you're not going to keep a female team of 10 members and then your male team have 15 members. You see, they're not going to cut. So if you're cutting, you're going to make sure that if you're having cuts and tryouts, that your boys team, your boys basketball team, if they're keeping 15 or 20, how many of they're keeping, your girls are keeping the same number. So, if you have tryouts, then you want to make sure there's equality there. You also want to make sure that there's equality in facilities. You don't want to put your girls basketball team in the Taj Mahal and some real swanky locker room, and then give the girls team somewhere under the basement, some backwood cobweb infested area.
Right.
You want to make sure there's equality there. So one thing that kind of gets lost in Title IX in the States is you have to make sure that there's equal opportunity for women as well as men. So if you offer 12 sports that are single sex men's sports only, you need to make sure that you're offering 12 female single sex sports only as well. So it's just a way to make sure that there's inclusion and there's equality across genders. That's really what it is. And so we're very cognizant about that here. We make sure that, we have a strength and conditioning coach here. And we make sure that our strength and conditioning coach is providing resources for both the male sports and the female sports. Facilities are the same; they're identical. We don't do one construction plan for males and then a different construction plan for females. They're both very cognizant about being at the forefront of our thoughts when we build facilities.
Sure.
Of that. So
I think
that's probably the biggest challenge we face, is because we do a lot of construction around here. We have a lot of those OCR people come in, the Office of Civil Rights, and they come in and they say, okay, yeah, this, if this boys locker room is going to be 600 square foot, then this female locker room has to be 600 square foot. So it brings a lot of people to the table.
Wow. And I think, not speaking for every international school, but at least everyone I've been to, that doesn't seem to come into play. If you have a girls team, you have a guys team. You have a locker room, a girls locker room, a guys locker room. It's always the same. Obviously we're not driven by, trying to have customers come to the game and put on a show. So, we don't have to worry about that, where obviously your male sports might draw, or probably do draw more spectators and thus more money. We're not there, but I even think we, at our school, we might even favor the girls teams more than the guys, to be honest with you. But not intentionally, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you always want to make sure that there's inclusion, and Matt touched on it at the very beginning of the intro. Everything that we do is at the forefront of our thoughts is our student athletes and what is best for those. And I think you can take out of the equation male or female. We just want what's best for all of our kids involved in our athletics. And so if you go into anything with that mantra, that mindset, then you're going to far exceed any rules or regulations that could be placed out there.
Well, that's great. And I think that's a great segue maybe into one of the main similarities of our system, so to speak, is that it's educational athletics. We're here for the kids. We're not trying to make pro athletes. We're trying to educate the kids and to be better people, right?
Sure.
How does that? I think that's easier maybe in our area. How does that play out with you, Jason? And I don't know, because you have college scholarships. You just passed the National Signing Day.
Yes.
That's got to make it tough for you, right?
Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, it's, like you said, National Signing Day just passed. We were fortunate enough that we had some kids sign in the early signing period in November. All in all, we had over 30 kids sign scholarship opportunities to further their academic and athletic careers. And, the good thing for that is I would say that it's probably about 49% female were signing those college scholarship opportunities, and probably 51% male in a variety of sports. We had wrestling, we had baseball, we had softball, we had football, basketball, track and field. So, the main thing for us is like you said, our opportunities here at Jenks. We want to provide the best playing experience, and we want to provide the best experience for our kids, but we also want to springboard those kids to the next level, because our objective is to make those kids lifelong learners. And the way that we do that is through education-based athletics. So there's a lot of similarities between us, and there's a lot of differences, because we drive our kids are driven for that next level scholarship, right. Whether that be NAIA, junior college, NCAA, whatever division that may be, Division 3, 2, or 1. So,
and I mean, being a college athlete, no matter what level you're in, that's just a great place to be in, a great atmosphere, and helps you get that college degree, whether you've got a scholarship or not, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get any type of scholarship money that just offsets the amount of money that you're having to take out of pocket to get yourself to the next level where you want to be. A lot of these people, a lot of the student athletes, I would say internationally as well as stateside here, they're not going to go professional. They're not going to be pro athletes. So, what is the main focus of that next level? And what we try to breed into our kids here is the main focus and goal is to get your college paid for, so that when you get out, you've got a degree, so you can be a productive member of society and be that lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Matt, have you had any athletes come out of your school to go play college?
In my 12 years here, we've had, I would say, less than half a dozen.
Yeah.
That go on to play. We had one guy who graduated about 7-8 years ago. Two guys, sorry, that played soccer. They're Hungary guys that ended up they played club ball mostly, but they also played for the school team, and they ended up getting Division I scholarships. One guy went to, I believe, Robert Morris. Mm-hmm. Another guy went to Maryland. So we've had a couple. We have one really high-level swimmer kid. He's a grade 11. He'll probably end up in the Olympics, I would say. He's a national junior champion in Hungary, which is pretty good swim background. But
your swim coaches aren't training him. He's got a club outside.
He's totally outside of school. Everything he does is outside of school. He's with the best trainers in Hungary.
I think we had one. We had one. One athlete, student athlete. He was a catcher in a D2 university, and that's the only guy I can think of that really learned the game, played the game at our school, and then went on to the next level. Obviously we have some Harvard and we have some Yales in there. Getting kids to the next level of university in a different sense, right? But
yeah, and a lot of our kids that go through our schools, Jason, like here in we're very similar to AIS Budapest and AIS Vienna. Kids are going to go on to university, but their time with our sport programs is always special. We do a marketing program, and they do videos with kids, and they interview them after they graduate, and they talk about what their best memories were of their time here. And a lot of them are these sport tournaments, going off to the CISA tournament and representing the school in some capacity for the sport program. So it's still a big part of their educational program here, even though they're not going to go on the next level competitively in college athletics.
Matt, you just Jason, Matt just mentioned kind of internal marketing, and I think that's one of the big differences. We as international schools, we don't really want attention outside of our walls. Mm-hmm. We want to do some internal marketing, obviously get participation levels up. But Jason, what's it like for you dealing with the media? Do you have?
It's a different animal. Good or bad. Mm-hmm. You get the good press, and National Signing Day, we had 15 different media outlets here, videoing and doing snippets on our student athletes that were going to the next level. So the marketing and the promotional side of things is paramount. That's how we get our kids recognized. We work together with our student athletes to self-promote. We have different media outlets, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have all of these different avenues set up to directly reach out to coaches with different highlight tapes and different game films and different statistics and different things like that, so that we can try to help these kids get to the next level. Now, we will have a large majority of our student population will go on to participate in a university, probably just as students, but the student athletes that we have, we want to give them an advantage to get into the next level. So, if you're a student who scores a 23 on your ACT and has, relatively good grades, B average, you're probably, if you desire to go to school, then you'll do that. Your parents will encourage you to do that. Athletes, they may be kids that have a 35 on their ACT and get a full academic scholarship, but now they're getting an opportunity to continue to play and possibly live out a dream that maybe they had when they were a child. I can remember when I was a kid, I used to watch NFL football, and man, I wanted to be like Mean Joe Green. And so, I had that goal and that aspiration. Luckily I was able to play a couple of years of college football, but was not fortunate enough to get to the next level. But I think that vision, and because of the promotion, here stateside, I was able to try to live that vision and try to achieve that goal. So I would have never gone to college had I not wanted to participate in athletics.
Right. Matt, what do you think? What, we don't have too much time left. What,
I think one of the last, we've covered a lot of ground here in a short amount of time with philosophies and kind of the day-to-day hustle of our jobs, which we found out are similar and different. But I guess our last little topic to talk about would be dealing with parents and kind of the differences and similarities, and helping them understand our programs and their kids' participation and what our hopes and dreams are, and some of the issues you deal with probably versus what some of the issues we deal with.
I think that we can all agree that our parents want what's best for their child. And a lot of times the conversations that you have with parents are focused solely on their kid as opposed to the entire team or the entire educational process that happens with athletics. A lot of times here in the States, it's parents, they want to have a conversation with you, and they may be upset about their child's playing time or lack thereof. But what we try to instill in those parents is, have your child come speak to their coach. We want them to be able to communicate with each other, and we want them to, we all have jobs and we all have bosses and we all have people that we have to answer to. And so definitely want to teach them those skills. And that's why we call it education-based athletics. We're giving them education on what life's going to be like outside of the sports arena or outside of the educational facility. You're going to have crucial conversations when you have a boss or you have employees who work for you. You're going to have to be able to communicate. Your mom and dad are not always going to be able to come and battle for you. That's just naivety, thinking that your parents can always, go fight your battles for you. So we try to instill that in our parents and in our student athletes. Great. Just, if you have an issue, please make sure your child talks to the coach, because a lot of times coaches, we got 125 kids on our football team. We've got 15 coaches. They're not going to know each one of those 125 kids intimately to the point that they know if there's an issue. The only way that they're ever going to know that there's an issue is if the kid comes to them and says, "Hey, coach, I'm having this issue, or I'm struggling with this, or coach, what can I do to improve my game so that I can show you that I'm worthy of playing on Friday night?" Yeah. But a lot of times parents just want to come in and be that voice for the kid, when in reality, if you're really trying to teach them, you would want that kid to be that voice.
Yeah, it's self-advocacy. That's such a huge part of education, and it's hard to teach kids that, of course, but that's the beauty of educational athletics and kids participating in sports programs. They have that opportunity for sticking up for themselves or talking up for themselves, and done That's another good point. I think that needs to be stressed. Is, they need to stick up for themselves, but they need to do it in a good way.
Yeah,
that helps them to get their point across in a productive way.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the main parent issues that we get are from parents that haven't grown up in athletics. So, where maybe you have parents that, played college, played this, played that, and want their kid to do even better than them, where we have a lot of businessmen and women and maybe diplomats and things, and their kids are getting a chance to compete, and they're just not really sure, what it's like to be on a team or to do this and that in athletics. So at least I don't know about you, Matt, but we get a lot of questions, just kind of naive questions or things like that.
Yeah, and just kind of educating them about the philosophy of why we're doing what we do and the reasons why we go about how we operate our programs.
Right.
For sure. Yeah, we try to set the mantra early. We have parent meetings at the very beginning of each sports season, and we just try to explain to the parents up front. We all are in this for the business of providing what's best for each child, not individual children, but for each child under our tutelage. So we set that precedent very early with our parents and let them know, guys, I may get onto your son and I may coach your son hard or your daughter hard, but I'm doing it because I need them to be successful on the field, which will in turn make them successful in life. If they face adversity in life and they know how to react and they know how to overcome that adversity, then they're going to be successful. Right. And that's really what it's about, more than, a lot of times our parents will see, if a kid, doesn't do the right play or, and the coach gets onto him and says, hey, you need to do this. Coach, trying to teach and educate that child. A parent may see that from the stands and think, oh, he's mad at my son. He doesn't like my son or my daughter. And so now they want to come and, well, that's where we let them know, hey, we're coaching your kid. We're going to tell them when they've done right, and we're going to tell them when they've done wrong. We're going to love them up when they do right, and we're going to correct their wrongs, and we're going to try to teach them to be productive members of society. And so it's not a personal attack on your kid if your kid does something wrong, and we correct that. It's not a personal attack. We don't dislike your kid. We're all in the profession of loving kids and helping them be successful, and that's part of it.
Yeah. And that's universal across the world, eh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Matt, another burning question, or what do you think? We sign off for today.
I think we sign off on that. I mean, we're almost at an hour in already.
Yeah, and it's a huge topic. Or I think it's always great when we're, like we've mentioned at the national conference, to talk to different people and what do you do here and what do you do there, and I think a lot of international ADs think, well, that's American or different. Mm-hmm. They're different, and it's just not true. We can learn a lot from each other, and our programs are more similar than we think.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I always look forward to going to the NIAAA conference and, running into Dave Horner and Matt, you and Nick and Chris and Jason and all of you guys. It's always a highlight of my convention because I get to pick your brains about the things that you guys deal with, and you guys afford me the opportunity to vent and break free and break loose about some things that we deal with here. So it's always great to catch up with you guys. And like I said earlier, I greatly appreciate you guys extending this invitation and opportunity for me to come on here and speak to you guys and with you guys. And I can't thank you guys enough for your friendships.
Oh,
it's great. And I think the more we find out how different we are, the more we find out how similar we are.
I guarantee you.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I looking forward to Tampa next December for sure. And who knows what's after that, where we can get together again.
Well, I'm always available to fly. I do have a passport. I don't have any stamps in it yet, but I'm going to change that eventually.
That's right. Get you over here, Budapest, 2021.
That's awesome. That would be a definite highlight and dream come true. So,
all right. Cool. Hey, just one last question. Hey, if we're ever there in Jenks, Oklahoma, one of these days, when we get there, where do we got to go? for some good food and something good to drink?
Oh my gosh. Well, Jenks is a bedroom community. We have a lot of housing, not a lot of industry, and not a lot of places to eat, but we're close to Tulsa, so probably take you into Tulsa. But if you just had to eat here in Jenks, we'd probably go to the Bayou Boys barbecue right here. I'm looking at it outside my window right now, just right up here on Main Street. So they got some good Cajun barbecue going on up there. So probably go up there and have a pint and have some boudin. Introduce you guys to some boudin.
All right. Well, that definitely has to happen sometime soon, for sure.
Well, you guys should make a trip up here, man, before you go to the NADC.
Yeah.
Swing through here, and we got an airport right here in Tulsa, just 5 minutes up the road. We could fly out together.
Hey, that sounds like a good plan. I think there's some definite PD we can pursue over there.
Oh yeah,
in
yeah.
Jenks.
For sure.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you. Thanks for everyone to listen.
Always.
Yeah.
And,
thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll get back in about 2 weeks' time with another episode that hopefully you guys all enjoy.
Yeah, we'll be off next week. I think Nick's on break as well. We're on ski break. I'll be taking 41 kids up to the Austrian Alps outside Salzburg, so looking forward to that. And a week over there in the mountains.
All right.
Nick, what do you got going?
I'm going to a spa. I'm going to a spa with my wife. The kids will be skiing again, and I'm going to relax. Yeah, recharge the batteries.
Well, so if you want to know what I'll be doing, we'll be in our state tournament, so we'll be having basketball. So
yeah.
Cool. I don't know what a ski break is, but sounds like it's fun. And a spa break, all that sounds real fun. I like to hear that.
It's a definite perk.
Man, you guys rock. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. Thanks, buddy. We'll
bet,
talk
man.
soon.
Okay. Y'all be safe.
All right. Thanks,
Bye.
Jason.
Yes.
Ciao.